Guys and gals, thanks for tuning in today. It is Jason from Ridgeline Overlanding, and we are tackling a bit of a touchy topic today. Yes, I am going to answer the question of which is the best pickup truck. An age-old debate, and we're going to drill it down, and we're going to get you some practical answers. We want to weigh the needs and wants that you might have in a vehicle versus your budget, versus the capability, usage, all of that kind of stuff. And I'm going to try and help you prioritize what you should look for in a pickup truck. Let's take care of a little bit of housekeeping first, some background, information on what is a truck. For the extent of this video, we're going to be considering pickup trucks, everything from the Hyundai Santa Cruz and the Ford Maverick, right on up to your Super Duty F-350s, 2500 Chevys and Rams. And then of course, everything in between. I've created a definition for what is the best. So the best truck is the one that is the most well-rounded and is going to best suit your needs, satisfy most of your wants, and most importantly, fall within your budget. This video is not about some guy making 25 bucks an hour and then thinking he needs to drive an $80,000 Super Duty pickup because he goes camping once a year. That's not what we're doing here. We are talking about responsible decisions, buying vehicles, keeping in mind your budget, your other debts, your family obligations, and plenty of other factors. So what makes a truck good, really? How do you define what is the best truck? Are we talking what is the best for towing and hauling in the typical truck kind of world? Well, that's one kind of best. What about performance, whether it's 0 to 60 empty or 0 to 60 towing a trailer, braking distance? You can never forget resale and reliability, which are linked to each other. I mean, let's face it, statistically, Hondas and Toyotas have been the most reliable vehicles on the road over the last 30, 40 years. The resale value tends to follow. They have higher resale because they are more reliable. But if you start asking a Honda Ridgeline to tow 8,000 pounds or haul 2,000 pounds, you're going to find quickly that it's not going to be as reliable as the Ridgeline that was relegated to, picking up a new washing machine at Home Depot. So we want to assume that vehicles are being used in the manner for which they're intended. So for the guy doing big truck stuff, we're not trying to tell him to buy a Ridgeline or even an F-150. For the guy who is just maybe 65 years old and looking to get his kayaks to the beach, we'd probably tell him not to buy the F-350. So there is no one answer, but we're going to prioritize where you should be looking to spend your money and how you should get there. If we can narrow this down to 2 priorities, I'm going to say we need to start with price, and then we need to follow it up with comfort. I don't think you will find a truck review or any kind of truck talk that is going to center on those 2. But they are the most important. I've owned a lot of vehicles in my life, and I'm going to tell you why those are the most important. First off, price. This is going to determine how much truck you can get. How much do you want to spend? How much can you afford? How much would be wise? Whether that's in terms of a cash layout or a monthly payment, factoring in interest rates and terms and all that banking kind of stuff that we won't get into. But price is important. So price is what you pay and value is what you get. So you want to get the most value while keeping in mind price. Don't overspend. Buy what you need. Don't underspend. The only thing worse than buying more truck than you need is buying less truck than you need. I drive a Honda Ridgeline. I bought it after we sold our 4,500 pound travel trailer. Not before. My needs changed. I went from an F-150 with the big Ego Boost engine, and I'm very happily almost 3 years into the Honda Ridgeline. Absolutely love it. Is it the best truck for a lot of people? I think it is. Is it the overall best truck? No, far from it. The other thing, so price is number 1. Number 2 is comfort. This is really important. You're going to spend time in your truck, whether it's on the job site, reviewing orders or plans, whether it's towing your boat to the lake, 1, 2, 3, 4 hours away, whether it's overlanding or wheeling, or for a lot of us, our fun vehicle is also our daily driver. So that means commuting, or for me, going out to sales calls, driving 60 to 90 minutes into Vancouver, all around the city and then back. A vehicle has got to be comfortable. So for me, that ruled out something like a Gladiator or a Tacoma because they just are not comfortable for long segments of highway. Another aspect of comfort that I think nobody talks about is operating within your vehicle's capabilities. So we're not just talking how comfortable are the seats, getting in, getting out. These are trucks. Let's assume that at least some of us use our trucks for truck stuff. So if you're going to be towing regularly, hauling regularly, you want to make sure you have a vehicle that can handle the job. I've had 1,800 pounds in the back of my Honda Ridgeline. I drove a whopping 2 miles. It was not that big a deal. But gosh be darn it, there's no way I would be doing that regularly or that I would be doing it over long distance. Payload is 1,550 pounds. I was way over that. I didn't have as much peace of mind driving home. I didn't have the acceleration, the braking, the handling. Was it fine for 3 kilometers, 2 miles? Yeah. Should this be normal? No. And that's a function of comfort. The truck isn't as comfortable to drive when you're straining it. So that's going to apply to towing maximum weights. If you're going to be towing 5,000 pounds or more regularly, buy a half-ton truck. Don't buy a midsize. It's just not worth it. I've towed 5,000 pounds behind an F-150 EcoBoost, and I knew it was there. I really did. The gas, the brakes, the fuel economy, all of it. I couldn't imagine towing that same trailer even behind a Colorado diesel. It's too much cart and not enough horse. The other aspect of that too is it's not just that the truck is less comfortable to drive, but your mind, you know that you're driving a vehicle that's less comfortable. You're having to accelerate a lot slower, brake a lot sooner, anticipate those red lights. You're not enjoying it. It's tiring, it's mentally taxing, it's not comfortable. If your needs do require that much truck, say you need a Super Duty for what you're towing, but you're also commuting, you might want to consider buying a small car, even a used Honda Civic or something that's going to be good on gas. I know people that have done this over the years and it's made really good sense for them. Use the advice in this video, not because I'm saying buy a Chevy long box with a 5.3 engine, but because I'm trying to give you guys the tools to make the decision and buy the truck that makes the most sense for you. It's your money. You've got to live with it. And there aren't really a lot of bad trucks out there. We got some pretty good quality stuff, and you know the gap between Toyota and Jeep is not nearly as big as the gap was 20 years ago. Now back to budget a little bit. I don't want to dig too much into finances, but most vehicles today are sold on monthly payment. Please don't fall into that trap. There is how much you can afford each month, but dealers will hide that. They'll drive that number down by making the term 96 months and then jack up the interest rate accordingly. And you might end up spending $100,000 on a $65,000 or $70,000 truck. That's a bad idea. Always read the fine print. Run a loan calculator before you go in there. Get an idea what it's actually going to cost you. I'm trusting you guys to be able to figure that part out. Use common sense. Sit down, figure out what your budget says and what your budget allows, not just what the bank will qualify you for. Because if you got good credit, they'll let you walk out with pretty much anything. Then the reality of making those payments hits. Some other things to think about with trucks is, gas versus diesel. I considered a Colorado diesel, but the price premium for diesel to buy the truck and then the premium of purchasing diesel at the pump, it just made no sense. Especially when in real world testing, the Colorado diesel wasn't getting any better fuel economy than the Ridgeline. The only difference is I would have gotten more towing power that I didn't need, but I would have lost a lot of get up and go that I did need or want. Reliability. That's an important one to me. If you keep your truck a good long time, you want to know that you're not going to be replacing engines and transmissions at 150,000 miles. Or in the case of Honda, well, Toyota and most Hondas, you're not going to be replacing engines and transmissions 400,000. They are more reliable. We get that. But if you try to use a Honda Ridgeline in the same way you would use a Jeep Gladiator, you might find your Ridgeline to be a little less reliable. Another thing to think about is when you're determining your usage, if you're going to be going off-roading, even just light off-roads, back roads, forest, camp roads, that kind of stuff, do you buy the off-road package that the truck comes with? Is it worth it? Did you price out what it would cost to get the better tires, skid plates, all that kind of stuff, and lift kit versus doing it aftermarket? What they don't tell you is when they sell you those upgraded tires, they're charging you $3,000 and they're keeping the original tires. Little scam on their part. Better to go buy your own $3,000 tires and keep the tires that came with it. Pro tip, you're welcome for that. That's the thing. The price of the vehicle stickered at, say, $50,000, that's only a small part of it. How much more are you going to spend? It's really easy. It adds up quick. You start putting on that lift, the bigger tires, skid plates. All of a sudden you want some overland jewelry, a bed rack, a rooftop tent, an awning, a shower. $10, $20, $30, $50,000 goes by like that. I mean, I see some of these beautiful rigs on the road and I'm like, oh my goodness, how I would love to have that. And then I just consider how much would it cost. I'm like, wow, can't do it. So I did cop out a little bit talking about what is the best truck for you. I am actually going to give you some recommendations here, just kind of a hot take, but if I was buying a mid-sized truck again, using it the same way that I'm using my Ridgeline, I would definitely buy the Ridgeline again. If I had a more of an off-road focus, maybe I could use my wife's vehicle for some of my daily driving, then I would probably be getting into a Chevy product. A lot more choices for aftermarket support. Not quite as expensive on the high end for the off-road packages. And the fact is, I've ridden in Tacomas. I just can't stand the seating position. It's not comfortable. And the Gladiators, well, a little too hardcore, way out of my price range. On the full size, if I needed to go back to full size, dollars aside, if I was keeping a vehicle, 10 years and putting miles on it and the initial price wasn't a factor, I would almost for sure go with a Tundra. They're a great truck. They've got proven reliability. Yeah, it's a new engine, tranny combination, but Toyota does not miss very often. I will give them full credit. I'm a Honda guy. In fact, there's a lot of Toyotas I do not like. But when it comes to trucks, they are on the money. If I was buying something to keep maybe 10 years, 120,000 miles, I'd go back to an F-150, almost certainly. More engine choices. I think the lower models they feel less bare. I really love the Rams when you get into the top models, but the lower trim levels just feel cheap to me. And I'd go back to what I know, which is the F-150. So your results may vary. And again, short box, long box, extended cab, all of that, it varies. If it's just you and the wife and a Harley, you probably want a long box so you can throw the Harley in the back. But for me, with 3 aging kids and 2 dogs, it's always going to be the biggest cab I can get, and I'll take whatever box comes with it. So I hope you guys have found this informative. It's been a fun video to make, to kind of think about what goes into, what defines a good truck, really. I don't think anybody else has had a take quite like this. I come across, or I come by my opinions a little more calculated, a little more rational and financial, practical. Buying vehicles is an emotional decision, but I try to keep the emotion out of it and look at what makes the most sense. And if I'm advising you on buying a truck, I need to keep my emotion right out of it. If you want emotion, then go watch my video on why I think the Ridgeline is the best truck, and have yourselves a good laugh, and go buy whatever truck you want. But guys, it's been fun. Thanks for hanging out. Appreciate your support. If you haven't hit that like or subscribe button, I would really appreciate you doing that. And until next time, and there will be a next time.